It's safe to say that TikTok Live has a lot of problems. Let me show you and TikTok how I would fix them, and I'll also show what you should be doing in the meantime. Alright, let's start with what I think is the biggest problem, which is the lack of clear requirements for the different TikTok Live access points. And I'm talking here about streaming from your phone cameras, using mobile gaming, using TikTok Live Studio, and using a stream key. Here's an example of somebody trying to access Live Studio. They just get this message, which doesn't tell them the requirements that they need. This one's even crazier. Here is somebody with 1 million followers on TikTok telling me that they can't get a stream key and they can't get access to Live Studio. Here is a screenshot from the unofficial TikTok Live Studio Discord where a staff member claimed you need 10k for non-gamers to access Live Studio and 3k for gamers. That is clearly not the best way to communicate because a fraction of all live streamers are in that Discord. So here's my solution for TikTok. It's really simple. When you press the plus button at the bottom, you can of course scroll along to live. And whether you have 0 followers or 1 million followers, I think everybody should see a page like this, which just clearly lays out the requirements for phone cameras, for mobile gaming, for Live Studio, and for stream keys. And by the way, what I've written here is my current understanding. It could be wrong. Something as simple as a page like this would clear up confusion for thousands of streamers. Now, what can you do about this in the meantime? Well, I suggest that you are multi-streaming. For example, use Streamlabs Ultra to stream to up to 7 platforms at once, and I'll put some links for this in the description. And the lack of clear requirements leads us nicely onto my second point, which is the complete lack of help articles. So if you type TikTok Live Help into Google, you usually get this page, and this page, in my opinion, is basically useless. There is no reference to Live Studio on this page, no reference to stream keys, and even more importantly, no reference to any requirements. It doesn't even mention you need 500, 800, 1,000 followers to go live. It seems to vary between those numbers. All it says, which is obviously correct, is you need to be 18 years or older, but it needs the full information. So how would TikTok fix this? Well, I've just used Inspect Element to add this line here, which makes the requirements nice and clear. It's as simple as that. TikTok just has to take a few minutes to edit this article to explain the requirements for each access point. Now, there's not much you as a streamer can do about the lack of help articles, but what you can do is build yourself a strong community using something like Discord. So if the social media platforms are doing something silly, you've still got your community and you can move them elsewhere. So my third major complaint is the crazy AI and warnings that the AI will give you. A few weeks ago, I came across this remarkable rant from Jakey Boehm, who has 1.2 million followers. And he is essentially saying that TikTok punishes him for being creative. They are giving him warnings on his live stream because he's configured it so that when you send gifts, it does fun things like play sounds or play videos. The communication from TikTok is sadly very poor, so it's usually hard to tell why your live stream's been restricted. So if you find yourself a victim of the AI restricting you, all I can suggest is keep experimenting with your live stream setup. If you've got this far, I'm sure you're finding it interesting. If you want more interesting insights in how to monetize and grow your live stream, check out my free newsletter. It's linked in the description. And the point about crazy AI really leads me onto my fourth point about providing clearer TikTok Live guidelines. Currently, I really don't think it's clear enough what is allowed and what is not allowed on TikTok Live. TikTok currently has no specific set of guidelines just for live streaming. The current guidelines just cover everything on the platform, which of course is mainly aimed at videos. Let's compare this to Twitch, which has tons of pages full of guidelines just for live streaming. And the same with YouTube. There is a ton of help articles on the YouTube website, including clear guidelines for live streaming. So my simple suggestion to TikTok is separate out these community guidelines into a separate set of live streaming guidelines and explain what is allowed and what isn't allowed. For example, you don't seem to like sleep streams, so make it clear in your guidelines for live streaming that sleep streams are not allowed. And this next complaint is a little bit more complex, but it's a very important one. There is currently not much support for third parties. And what I mean by that, it's very difficult for developers such as Streamlabs to make applications for TikTok Live. Now, many of you are probably familiar with the main TikTok alerts platform, Tikfinity. The page you're looking at here is how Tikfinity gets the live chat data. The way most platforms like Twitch and YouTube work is they have what's called an API, where Twitch or YouTube directly sends the data to Tikfinity. But TikTok Live doesn't have an API. This live connector has basically reverse engineered the TikTok Live platform to pull all the required data like gifts and like likes from your chat. The crazy thing is, even though this isn't an official TikTok API, I was speaking to somebody who told me that TikTok themselves recommend people use this live connector because they don't provide a public API. Why isn't Streamlabs on TikTok Live? For that reason. Streamlabs wants an efficient way to get the data, and TikTok simply doesn't provide it. By the way, Tickfinity is fantastic. I'll put my Tickfinity guides in the description. I highly recommend using it. Now, the lack of API kind of leads me on to my next point, which is a lack of other basic features that other live streaming platforms have had for years. So off the top of my head, I've got chatbots, links in chat, polls, and follower-only mode. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of Kick.com. This site is about 8 months old, yet it has some of the things I just mentioned that TikTok Live doesn't have. Check out this example from Twitter, where Eddie, the CEO, has said just over the last 48 hours, they added 4 different changes. So this is just an example of how another streaming platform is innovating so fast compared to TikTok Live, which seems to be super slow. As a result of their super fast innovation, you can see XQC, who was the top male streamer on Twitch, is now on Kick, and you can see Amaranth, who was the top female, is also on Kick. So that just shows the importance of innovating and adding updates really quickly. And that leads me on to my next point, which is TikTok clearly needs to hire more staff, not just with the live streaming department, but across the board really. Now, I am on Twitter, and here is a crazy comparison. I'm in the replies of @TikTok support. Last message 7 hours ago, before that July 3rd, before that July 2nd. Now let's go on Team YouTube. Last reply 22 seconds, 28 seconds, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. The difference is night and day, and it's quite clear that a large company is clearly able to provide support if they wanted to. Here's an example of Jared FPS, who I believe is now mainly on Kick, saying he was banned for months on TikTok Live and he doesn't know why, and his partnership manager at TikTok was not even responding to his emails. Now, there is other clear examples of how TikTok doesn't have enough staff. For example, the experience of viewing a live stream on desktop is not great. And of course, I mentioned in my previous point about the lack of innovation. Clearly, if TikTok had more staff, they could easily add updates faster. So I do actually have an extra point which I forgot to add as well. And that is TikTok needs to pay their creators a fairer share. So let me illustrate this firstly based on sub splits. So based on a $5 sub, you can see on screen that TikTok gives creators the lowest split of any major streaming platform. Now you might think, why does TikTok care? Well, here's an example of why they should care. This is BBC News, one of the biggest news websites in the world, clearly stating in the first line of the article that TikTok takes up to 70% of proceeds from gifts. So they're getting a lot of bad press simply by not paying their creators more money. And we'll briefly head back to Kick.com. And money is one of the reasons why people like XQC and Amaranth switched to Kick, because the unfortunate truth is at the minute, Kick is paying more money to their streamers. So this was a different type of video. Let me know what your major problems are with TikTok Live. And I always suggest that you multi-stream to help negate any issues with TikTok Live.